February 19th, 2022, this is FOMO's a MOFO, a video game collecting podcast. Coming up on today's episode, Nintendo is closing eShops on 2 systems. 2 live-action Sonic projects are announced, and Cyberpunk 2077 gets a next-gen update. Welcome to FOMO's a MOFO, Episode 6. I am your host, BlueSwim, and we are live on Spreaker.com and on Spreaker's podcast player app, as well as streaming digitally after the fact on Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, and GeoSavan. Plus, breaking news, FOMO's a MOFO is now available on Apple Podcasts, so you have plenty of ways of never missing an episode. And there has been a lot of stuff that has gone on this week. Not a ton of news, but what we have to work with is some pretty big stuff. Coming up on segment 1, we'll have the collecting news with the major announcement from Nintendo. Plus, in segment 2, we will run down new releases and close things out in segment 3 with pickups and impressions. And I picked up Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires after, in spite of the fact that it had a hellacious demo. And yeah, I think you'll be interested to hear how that turned out. Spoiler alert, it's a heck of a lot better than the demo. But let's get going with collecting news, and the big story of the week is that Nintendo will be shuttering the 3DS and Wii U eShops in late March of 2023. And you know, this is yet again why I am so hesitant to go digital just entirely on a platform. You know, I've been saying for years, it's like, why get invested in these things when they're going to go offline before you know it? It's one of those things where I hate the idea of spending money on something that I'm just might have, like, nothing to be able to do with, 10 years down the road. It's like, with the Wii. When one time there was like this insane deal at Walmart where they had these points cards, like the 2,000 point, like $20 Nintendo eShop cards or whatever, bundled with like controller grips, like these little little rubberized cases for these things. And I want to say Walmart cleared them out for like $2. It was like some ridiculously low amount, and I stocked up on it. I bought a whole ton of games, and eventually I ran out of space on my Wii because, there's not a lot of space on the Wii to begin with, and I had to make room, so I got rid of Paper Mario. And if for some reason, well, of course, now that I think about it, it might still be available for download, but it's like one of these things where it's like, once I got it in my head that the store was closed, it's like I just completely forgot about it. I just assumed it was lost, and of course I haven't had my Wii online to check and see if I can even download anything again, and God knows how long. It's just, I hate the idea of losing access to anything that is game related, and then again with the 3DS and the Wii U eShops, it's not like I got all that invested in them to begin with. I got a few digital titles on the 3DS, and those were just through Club Nintendo. I think I ended up getting Star Fox 64 3D one year, and Pokemon Y another. Then like some ambassador titles, because I bought a 3DS on day one and then they dropped the price. Yeah. But, there's a lot of good games that are going to be disappearing from the world when these two shops go down. I want to say it's like 600 games on the 3DS that are going to be just flat out lost. I could be wrong about that. I think I saw somebody retweet it. And, that is just yet again making the case for there to be some sort of legal archival of video games, like some Library of Congress type stuff for these things. And unfortunately, there isn't, and publishers and developers will fight it tooth and nail. But let's see, for the Wii U, it's like, I know there's the Wii U. It's like the 3DS and the Wii U. For me personally, they were one of those quality over quantity systems where I had a handful of games for the Wii U, maybe 20, and a little bit more for the 3DS. But it's like, by and large, it was just like a handful of titles for both of those systems that I really kept up with and played a ton of. Of course, with the 3DS, that would be like Animal Crossing, what was it, New Leaf? I guess that was New Leaf. And, God, I put well over 100 hours into that. I want to say it was like 150 or something like that. Of course, I think I've already topped that with New Horizons on the Switch. But it's like I spent a lot of time with that. I spent a lot of time with two of the fighting games that were on there, because the 3DS was actually really, really good for portable fighting games. And I spent a ton of time, almost exactly 95 hours, with Super Street Fighter 4 3D Edition and Dead or Alive Dimensions. And I mean, literally, it's like those two would kind of go back and forth between like being the second and third most played games on the system, because it's just, I brought those things everywhere, because having, a really, a competent version of Street Fighter 4 on the go, I mean, that's like just kind of mind-blowing. And it's kind of crazy that we haven't gotten Street Fighter 4 in some way, shape, or form on the Switch, because I figure it could, I mean, if the 3DS can handle it scaled back like that, I mean, surely the Switch can do something closer to the home console experience. And speaking of Street Fighter, apparently there's some sort of a countdown timer going on somewhere on Capcom's website that is rumored to be leading to the announcement of Street Fighter 6. I didn't have a chance to toss that on my outline, but basically that was about all there is to talk about, so I figure if they announce it, I'll have more fun talking about it next week, because I'll actually know what the hell they're doing with it. But, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know that I'm going to miss the 3DS and the Wii U eShops. They're not going to hurt as badly as some online stores closing. But it's just one of those things where I really wish we could get to a point where home consoles are kind of like, I guess, like iOS or Google Play Store or whatever it's called. Where, basically your purchases from 10 years ago can work on your new devices. And I guess Microsoft is kind of doing that a little bit with the backwards compatibility for Xbox Series X and Series S. But, and Sony's doing it a little bit too with the PS4 stuff on PS5. Well, I guess they're doing it quite a bit. But, there's still a lot of room to go with it. And personally, one reason why I have been hoping that the next home console from Nintendo is the Switch 2 is simply because, if they can kind of like foster this Switch ecosystem as it is into like a massive ecosystem that stretches for console generations. So like if you get a Switch 3 or a Switch 4 20 years from now, you can still go back and download that copy of Zelda Breath of the Wild that you got at Walmart digitally for like $42 or whatever. That's the dream, and I don't know what Nintendo's going to do. I'm deathly afraid that they are going to needlessly reinvent the wheel again just because they don't like to do the same thing twice. And I mean, innovation is all well and good, but when you look at how good the Super Nintendo was, and then they reinvented it with the N64, with the weird controller that people didn't understand, didn't like, and stuff like that, you know, it's like Nintendo has this tendency to kill the golden goose. And I don't want them to mess with the Switch because it is essentially the home console experience and the portable experience perfected. You know, you can basically, you know, you can view either side of that hybrid as, you know, the pinnacle of their respective forms because you have the hybrid nature of, you know, you have the hybrid nature of the system. You can take the home console games, you know, the AAA home console games from Nintendo anywhere on the planet, and you can take the portable games that you play on the train, on the plane, wherever, and play them on your TV seamlessly. And I think I've said before that it's like the dream. It was the dream I had as a kid for home console gaming in the future, and it's here. And I'd hate to see Nintendo screw it up, but Nintendo tends to screw things up. Every once in a while, they have, you know, an anomaly where they strike onto something really, really good. You know, the DS, the 3DS, and the Wii come to mind. But then again, you also have stuff like the Wii U, which was a neat system, but kind of gimmicky and kind of out there with it. It was more of like a better proof of concept for what the Switch ended up being than necessarily a standalone system. And of course, you know, you have systems like the Virtual Boy too, where it's like they tried to be, you know, innovative and think about fun new ways to play, and it ended up just kind of tripping and falling flat on its face. And, oh wow, I just got the official email that the show is on iHeartRadio. Yeah, so I guess the approval process is finally finished, even though it's already been on there for a couple of weeks. Hey, whatever, we'll take it. Now, moving on, we have a big 1.5 patch released for Cyberpunk 2077. And what's big about this is that this means Cyberpunk 2077 is now available on next-gen consoles, or it's out. I'm trying to figure, because I haven't kept up with Cyberpunk. I bought the thing for $10 with the Steelbook, and I never did a thing with it. But I guess it's the next-gen update. And this basically adds performance mode and ray tracing on PS5 and Xbox Series X. And I guess this is just the native next-gen version for Cyberpunk. And let's see what else we got here. Okay, so here are some of the features of the patch. You basically have 60 frames per second with small dips and rare frame drops in performance mode, and 30 frames per second if you are in ray tracing or using ray tracing. 4K resolution with dynamic frame rate dependent scaling. Okay. And actually, all those things are on Series X as well. You have local shadows when you're using ray tracing, and SSR quality is medium and high, or medium on performance mode and high on ray tracing. And let's see, there's some more content for last-gen platforms as well, including new weapons on PS4, Xbox One, and PC and Stadia. Additional apartments for V, a hairdressing mirror. Okay. Seems like a weird thing to put on a checklist, but why not? Some rebalancing of gameplay and the economy and the loot system. That's for the last-gen systems as well. Then you have ray-traced local shadows on Series X and PS5. And a lot of the stuff I already went through. You know, hopefully Cyberpunk is going to dig itself out of that abysmal reputation that it had. But I don't know. It's like I still haven't felt the urge to load it up. I feel like, well, you know, poke me when it's actually, you know, really ready to play. And, you know, maybe now is finally the time to give it a go, see how it is. But at the very least, you know, CD Projekt Red hasn't just kind of tossed it out there and done nothing with it ever since. They are trying to turn it around, so that's definitely better than nothing. Next up, we have details on the Switch version of 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. And this is it's like a strategy visual novel of sorts by Vanillaware, if I remember correctly. And this came out on the PS4, and I have it on the PS4. And I think I paid like $20 for it. And the Switch version is going to be a full price of $59.99, and it will be hitting on April 12th. And if you get in a pre-order, you will get a set of art cards, 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches. And those are while supplies last. And they have a preview of the art cards up now, and they look pretty good. I don't know. I'm hard pressed to pull the trigger on this at $60. Because I got it on the PS4. Sitting down and playing anything, on a dedicated home console is so much more challenging to me than just grabbing the Switch, popping it on, and playing a few minutes of this or that, and then putting it down because, well, I'm in a caretaker situation, so I got to be able to, put the controller down and go whenever I need to. And it's just been a little bit more convenient for my lifestyle, but I just don't know if I'm going to double dip on this. It's probably going to be really good. I know the PS4 version was fantastic from, by all accounts. But, then again, I got it for $20. You can probably find it out there for about $20 or $25 on sale every now and then. I don't think it's sold out yet. But I know that dropped in price on sale multiple times. So there's probably still some copies of it out there. But, if you don't have a PS4 or you're just looking to have it on the go, that's a great option. So why the hell not? Next up, we have news on Sonic the Hedgehog 3. No, not the game. Not the game. That one's been out for a little bit. Just about almost 30 years. 25, 30 years, something like that. I speak of Sonic the Hedgehog 3, the movie. And apparently, Sega and Paramount have been very happy with how the franchise has been going. In the theaters, that is. Because in addition to having the second movie coming out either soon or it's already out, I don't keep up with theater movies because I don't go to the theaters. Never really went to the theaters to begin with. I'd rather just sit at home with my projector and, watch a movie that I can pause whenever I want to go get a snack or something. But, basically, here's what Haruki Satomi, he said the following. He is the CEO of Sega. He said, "We are delighted to announce that the third Sonic theatrical film and the first live-action Sonic series for Paramount Plus are being actively developed. We've got a remarkable partnership with Paramount, and we are excited to continue expanding the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise with them. 2022 is shaping up to be a significant year for the franchise, with the second film being released this April." Okay, so I guess it's not out yet. "As well as Sonic Frontiers, the highly anticipated video game title coming this holiday. Sonic has been beloved by fans across the world for over 30 years, and we look forward to continuing to bring memorable moments and experiences to them for many years to come." And so apparently the deal with the TV show that's being developed for Paramount is that it's going to be based on Knuckles. And they are going to be bringing back the voice actor from the movie, Sonic 2, to reprise the role of Knuckles. And I forgot to make note of the name. I am not good with celebrity names. But, personally, when I watched the first Sonic movie, not the anime one, not any of the other Sonic movies, if there are any out there that I'm unfamiliar with, but the first live-action Sonic movie, I thought it was okay. I can't say I was, chomping at the bit for more, but it could have gone a whole lot worse. But, what I've seen of Sonic 2 looks interesting, and of course I liked Sonic 2 the game more than Sonic 1 the game. So hopefully that will be a case of history repeating itself by the time I actually get to see this movie. But it's curious to see what they're going to do with the third Sonic movie when they get around to that. I can't keep up with all this movie action and stuff like that. I mean, I can barely keep up with games as it is, but movies, it's like, oh yeah, I know there's like an Uncharted movie that's coming out sometime eventually, maybe. Yeah, I guess it's already out, whatever. It's like, I'll pay attention to it when it's on Blu-ray and I can watch it at home. I don't care to go to theaters. I'd like I said, I'd rather stay at home and just plop myself down in front of my 10-foot projector screen and just chill out that way. It's just more fun. You don't have to worry about people talking throughout the movie or anything like that. Definitely a more enjoyable film experience. Now, if you are looking for enjoyable experiences, we are going to have a new one to talk about this March, specifically March 1st, so just about just a little over a week away. And this is the return of Puzzle Quest. Puzzle Quest 3 is going to be hitting mobile platforms on the 1st of March. And I've seen a little bit of the gameplay for it, and like I said, it's just on mobile platforms. I don't know that it's coming to home consoles, excuse me. But it looks like they shrunk the board a bit compared to like the original Puzzle Quest that you can get on like just about every platform that's been released in the last 15 years. But it seems like a really good game to have on your phone just because, going out and messing around with, doing a match 3 while you're waiting in line someplace or having a tire changed on your car or whatever. I mean, that's a great way to kill some time. I don't do much in the way of mobile gaming, but, I'm always looking for something good and hopefully free to mess around with. And, Puzzle Quest has a lot of love to it. And it's well-earned love because, I remember on the DS, I played... God, I want to say I put like 50-something hours into that thing, if not more. And I think I beat every single challenge on that map in that. I loved it. I mean, it's a great concept of, combining a match 3 with like a versus RPG type game. I love it when you can blend two completely separate genres into one and the results come out actually decent. You don't see it too much anymore, but like back in the Super Nintendo era, they always had to get creative to kind of come up with something new that could basically fit within the constraints of the hardware. And sometimes just kind of spinning a random wheel of genres twice came up with some pretty good things. Let's see. Next up, we are moving on to new releases. And the big release of the week is Horizon Forbidden West on PS4 and PS5. This being the sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn, I guess it was. And that's one of those games that I have it. I bought it twice, and I have never even played it. And the reason why I bought it twice was because the first release was just the standard game that everybody was just losing their minds over. And the second one was like a Game of the Year edition with the season pass on it. And I think it was like cheap on Black Friday for like $10 or something like that. Some price that was basically cheaper than buying the pass on its own separately. So it's like, yeah, what the hell, I'll get it, why not? And this one is reviewing very well. I've seen some scores in the 9s for it. And, I'm not sure about the differences between PS4 and PS5, but it's a major first party title on PS5, so it's definitely worth checking out if you've been one of the seemingly few 10 million people or whatever to actually get your hands on one of those things. Definitely a must-have title if you will. Let's see. Next up, we have Total War Warhammer 3, which is a strategy game on PC, and that's apparently been really anticipated for quite some time. And just because outside of the show, I don't keep up with PC gaming, it just kind of flew completely under my radar. But not much else I can really offer, unfortunately, because of that. But if you're a PC strategy game fan, there's definitely an interesting title to check out. Now, here's something that is free, and we all love free, don't we? MLB The Show 22 has launched their tech test on, I believe, all platforms. And basically, this is, as the name implies, a tech test, and part of participating in the tech test is that you can't give feedback on it. You can't share, clips of it or screenshots or anything like that. Or at the very least, it's like that on the Switch. I'm not sure about other platforms, but quite frankly, it hasn't been stopping people from posting on social media about it. And this is basically the first time people have been able to go hands-on with the show on the Switch. And like I said, I'm in it, so I can't give feedback about it, but I just say, take a look on social media. There's been some rather how should we say, spicy opinions about it. It's one of those things where it's like I think people might have lost sight of the fact that this is still a product that has, I guess over a month of development time left, and there's always the possibility of some sort of a day one patch to fix things if there are any problems with it. But, a lot of people seem to have been complaining about the Switch version. But, if you want to give it a shot, it's free. I forgot to make note of how long it runs. But, you can, if you participate in it, at least on the Switch, because I haven't done it on PS4 yet, so I'm not sure if it gives me a code on there too, but you will get a thank you pack when the full game launches. They'll give you a digital code that you can redeem after the game comes out, and it'll give you some special items. And I'm not sure if it's just going to be like card packs or, basically some of the stuff that you can use in Diamond Dynasty or Road to the Show or whatever. But at the very least, you download the demo on the eShop and it just immediately brings up the code and sends you an email with it in it. And, of course, the code doesn't work yet. You have to wait until the game comes out. But at the very least, you get a code for just even downloading it. You don't even have to load it up. It's just, you download the software and bam, there it is. Let's see, moving on, we have River City Girls 0 is out, and that is the sequel beat-em-up brawler to the original River City Girls, which came out a few years ago. And this is like the retro, like Super Nintendo similar-esque style beat-em-up brawler. And it's got some anime graphics to it, and you play as two characters trying to rescue their boyfriends, or at least that's how it was in the original. I think the boyfriends are now playable characters this time around, and I want to say Limited Run still has pre-orders open for the physical release on this, but if you miss out on it, it's only $15 if you go digital with it. And speaking of missing out on pre-orders, Valis the Phantasm Soldier collection is out for $40 on the Switch, and this compiles the first 3 Valis games. And I talked about it before when the limited run version went up for pre-order, and I ran down some of the details on that. But the Valis franchise, it really took a left turn around its 10th anniversary, I want to say it was. Well, since the show already has the explicit tag on on Apple Podcasts. I might as well just go ahead and say it. Basically, the publisher or the rights holder for the Valis franchise back around, I think it was 2007, ended up buying an erotic anime website, or an erotic anime comic site or something like that back around 2007. And their brilliant idea was basically to make an official hentai game for Valis as the 10th anniversary or 15th anniversary or whatever it was for the franchise. And, yeah, there were tentacles involved. Yeah. And if you've wondered why you've never really heard much of anything about the Valis franchise since, that's because that game, Valis X, basically ended up killing the franchise completely. It was basically an official porn game, essentially. They basically took this existing franchise, and, you know, you see porn parodies all the time, but it's like, this one wasn't a parody. This one was official. And that just completely derailed all momentum of the franchise. The fans hated it over in Japan. And it's basically, you know, it's just been one of those games that's like, there was a video on YouTube that I checked out. And, you know, it was just fascinating to hear about, you know, what they did with that franchise, you know, to really just screw it up. No pun intended. But, you know, we're finally getting the franchise back in some way, shape, or form with the Valis, the Phantasm Soldier collection. So, if you liked the non-adult Valis games, well, you are in luck. You can grab it for $39.99 on the eShop. And at, you know, almost 90% off of that price, you have another new game that just pretty much came out of nowhere. I didn't remember hearing anything about this. And it was Puzzles and Dragons, the Nintendo Switch Edition. And this came out yesterday, I believe it was. It was either yesterday or today. And it is only $4.37. And that's such an odd price for it to launch at. And I don't think it's like a launch discount or anything like that. I think it's just actually, you know, that's the regular price on it. And, you know, it's, you know, this is another match 3 type thing, going back to talking about Puzzle Quest. This is kind of one of those things where it has RPG elements to it as well. And that at that price, that's, you know, that's not a bad deal. I remember there was like Puzzles and Dragons Mario Edition on the 3DS several years ago, and that was actually a pretty good title from what I remember of its reputation. And, you know, of course, not even $5 for that. I mean, you know, save your coins up. You might be able to get that without even having to go into your pocket. And another thing you won't have to go into your pocket on is the Crunchyroll app has launched on the Switch. And it seems like almost everything I talked about this week was for the Switch or something. But yeah, this is one of the rare video streaming services to have actually launched an app on the Switch. I know Hulu has one, and Twitch launched one a few months ago. But Crunchyroll actually beat Netflix to the Switch. And when you think about the fact that there are over like 103 million Switches out there, that's kind of crazy that it took this long to get some, you know, just a basic app like the Crunchyroll app, and Netflix is still not on there. I mean, it's kind of baffling to me that Netflix has held out on it as long as they have. It's kind of like with EA, actually. I mean, it's like you have a system out here that's sold 100 million units, and you are just doing the bare minimum to actually capitalize on that gigantic fan base. I don't get it. I do not get it whatsoever. But, moving on to things I did get. It's time for pickups and impressions, and this week I actually picked up several things, the first of which I mentioned earlier, which is Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires. And like I said a few episodes back, I think it was episode 3, I detailed in length my experience with the demo on it. And I'm not going to go as in-depth on it today because, you can just go back and listen to that. But I'm going to say this about the full game versus the demo. It's not nearly as hard. Basically, what happened with the demo is it appears that it got set on like one of the harder difficulties, either hard or expert or something like that. And as a result, it just made that entire experience just so brutal. But the full game, on the other hand, is not nearly as punishing. And basically what this is the Empire's spin-offs of the mainline Dynasty Warriors games are basically military or political career strategy games mixed in with the combat elements of a traditional Dynasty Warriors game. And basically, it's like, I'd had like 2 of the other Empires games previously. I think it was 6 Empires and 8 Empires. I know the PS4 one that I played was 8 Empires. And I played it. I ran around the map doing random things and doing, just invasions and capturing castles and stuff like that, or forts or whatever. But I never felt like I really truly grasped what the overall game was trying to go for until I really sat down with DW9 Empires. And it's like, basically, you are trying to build up your political career by earning merit. And merit is basically the replacement for traditional battle experience in the previous Dynasty Warriors games and the other Warriors spin-offs titles. You gather merit by, successfully invading or defending territories on the map, or by accomplishing certain objectives by, for example, executing a secret plan, which is like some sort of a special objective mid-battle that you have to accomplish in order to trigger something that will basically start turning the tide of battle in your favor, like having tigers running around the field attacking all the enemy soldiers. It's like I had that happen last night, and it's crazy, it's ridiculous, and I mean, basically it's a mix of like realistic but yet also Dynasty Warriors crazy and over the top with it. But basically as you earn merit, you level up your rank, I guess you'd say, or your title or whatever. And each title kind of has its own sort of buffs and debuffs. As far as stats goes, if you basically choose to use the title of like hero or foolhardy or something like that, you'll have like different boosts for different stats and stuff like that. And the way you unlock those is you level up these individual, I'm just going to call them personality traits, but basically every decision you make through your political career levels up one of several different categories, and some will, drop down others when you level them up. And basically you have to get like, I'm trying to think of what some of them were. I know one of them was like evil. So if you're like going on, quests and pillaging towns and countrysides and whatnot, then that will definitely level up your evil. But it's like you have to get like 2 different categories up to like level 5 or something like that. And it will unlock a title like the hero one. I think that was like, there was like 2 different categories that I had to level up to level 5 to unlock that. And when you get a new title, it also grants you new political actions or a new soldier unit type that you can take into battle with you, or both, depending on what you unlock. And I mean, honestly, it's such a different twist on the formula that I've gotten so used to that, you know, it took me a while to really get into it and really grasp the fact that this is not just simply, you know, your typical Dynasty Warriors story-driven, you know, spectacle. This is basically, you know, a political career, a military career, and you can basically choose to start off as either like a ruler who makes all the decisions, what general goes where, what territory you invade, or something like that. Or you can have like the role of, you know, basic soldier. You know, I forget the exact title of it. You also have a general who is like a little bit higher up, and you can boss around some of the other lower ranked units. Like before the game or a battle begins, you have the ability to direct your officers to go like, okay, you go over here and capture this ram base where they build rams to smash open a gate. Or you go over here and take this catapult base and stuff like that. It's basically, if you've played Fire Emblem Warriors, it's kind of like how that game handled controlling the different characters that you had. It's like you'd pick like 4 characters sometimes and send them into battle, and you could direct the other 3 controllable characters to like, okay, go over here, capture this base. You go over here and fight him. It's kind of like that when you are a general. But again, if you are of a lower rank than some of the other soldiers, you can't boss them around. They'll be kind of grayed out or, you know, red out or whatever. So you can't give orders to them. And it's fascinating to sit there and just kind of really obsess over the details on these things. And, you know, and then you get into the gameplay, and the gameplay is basically pretty much what you saw in the demo, but much more merciful. You know, of course, it is based on Dynasty Warriors 9. So a lot of the criticisms that were there for Dynasty Warriors 9, such as, you know, characters having their weapon types changed from game to game and stuff like that, a lot of those complaints are, you know, still valid with this one as well. But, you know, the gameplay, instead of taking place on a gigantic open world like vanilla Dynasty Warriors 9 did, you basically have smaller maps where battles take place. And you'll have, you know, like a fort that you need to invade, and you can do so by capturing, you know, like the battering ram fort and the catapult fort, and then I'll just assault all the forces of the enemy wherever they are. And you eventually, you know, break the walls down and storm the castle. And, you know, I mean, it's a bit formulaic once you really get down into it. You know, I mean, it's, you know, typical Dynasty Warriors affair, I guess, but it's like, it feels a little bit more formulaic because I've had situations where I'm essentially replaying the exact same battle with the exact same soldiers in the exact same situations and positions, and it's like, I think I played it like almost back to back. And, you know, that stuff was kind of frustrating about it, you know, but, you know, I never felt the urge to really put it down. If anything, it's like, in spite of the fact that, you know, I was having those issues with it, you know, kind of being familiar from time to time, you know, I just had a difficult time putting it down because it was really, really good. Once you actually figure out what the hell you're doing with it, it's actually a lot of fun. The thing is, though, I picked it up on the Switch, and the Switch version is, or at the very least was, a little bit difficult to track down. I don't think Best Buy has them in stores, and for a while there, they were even sold out online. I'm not sure if it was just because they were transitioning from pre-orders to for sale copies or what. But I managed to get it on the Switch. And let me tell you, there are some significant graphical issues with it. I mean, I'm soldiering on through just because the main gameplay is just so enjoyable, so captivating. But, I mean, if you are a stickler for low-resolution textures and, grass and trees and whatnot popping in, I'd avoid the Switch version at all cost. I mean, it's like there are some segments in the main campaign called strolls where you can basically go for a free roaming adventure, if you will, where you can talk to officers and I guess explore the land. But I never really did all that much of that. And when you are just walking around with no action going on, just taking in the environments, it is so rough. It's like all the performance problems just really just spring to the forefront. It's like if you are walking along or running along, it's like the grass will just sprout out of the ground, like in like some magical, whimsical, flowers growing sequence from like a cartoon or something like that. And it's almost comical, but it's just, it takes you out of that experience something fierce. And, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, it can be fixed. I'm not holding my breath that it will. But, if you are going to play it, give the demo a shot, at the very least to see how you can tolerate the graphics. Because it's like, in battle, you got so much going on that there isn't really all that much time to take in the graphical flaws because you are trying to capture these bases and defeat these officers and whatnot. But when you're in those free roam modes, man, you just can't help but notice how rough it is. But I mean, I'm glad I have it. Check it out on one of the other consoles if you are a stickler for graphics. But I mean, quite frankly, it's like I feel like I finally had my aha moment with the Empires games because it's like it never really clicked with me all that much until I finally played Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires seriously this time. And once I have, I've had a ball with it. It's definitely worth checking out under the right set of circumstances. Now, something else that I picked up was Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX. And I haven't put a lot of time into this. I'd say I'm probably about where I left off with in the demo, because there is a demo for this on the eShop. But it's basically kind of like, it does for dungeon crawling games what the original Pokemon did for JRPGs, in that they are intended to be approachable. It's kind of like the My First Dungeon Crawler, if you will. But basically, with this one, it's like a grid-based dungeon crawling game, just like, traditional dungeon crawlers are. You can move diagonally with it, which is a little bit different for the genre. And, I mean, it's a good change, so I'll take it. But basically, you run around in a team with another Pokemon. And it's like the first mission, you have to rescue this Mama Butterfree's baby Caterpie that has fallen down into a mystery dungeon, a dungeon that changes every time you're in it. So I guess if you play it multiple times, stage one will never play exactly the same. At least that's my interpretation of it. But basically, you drop down in with the other Pokemon that you choose, and you can choose which Pokemon you play as and which one you're partnered with. But they started off with a personality test, and it basically says, "Oh, you are supposed to be this kind of Pokemon, judging by your answers. This is your personality type, and you can either go along with it or pick something else." And then you pick another Pokemon that is your partner Pokemon, and I don't think it can be the same type, like water or fire or something like that. I think I guess there's going to be like some elemental stuff a little bit later on in the game, and I'm not very far with it. I've maybe put an hour into it. But basically, you drop down into this mystery dungeon, and your goal is to rescue this stranded Caterpie. And as you walk around, you encounter all sorts of different Pokemon. And when you get close to them, you can hit the attack button. And like I said, it's very, very simple, at least so far, because it was just the first dungeon that I played in it. But, it's like there's a little bit of a leveling up system with it, too. I'm not sure how crazy it's going to get as far as like stats go or anything like that. I think it's just more of your basic leveling up nature to it. But what I've played of it has been really, really good. And, maybe if you have some kids out there that, you want to maybe give them something a little bit different as far as Pokemon goes, but you don't necessarily think they're ready for like Pokken Tournament, this is probably a really good place to start out because it looks like it's a fun, lighthearted Pokemon adventure. And, the visual style for it kind of has like almost like a watercolor effect to it or a look to it. And it looks really, really nice. And it has a whole bunch of neat little character portraits on the inside of the insert when you open the box. And it's neat. It's got a lot of charm to it. And I've been really happy with it so far. And that's actually not the only Pokemon pickup that I have had this week, because I picked up Pokemon Shining Pearl, a physical copy for it. And last year they had this insane deal at Walmart. I'm not sure what it was. I think it was the digital version of the double pack for only $70, I think it was. And it was like day one or even before that. And basically, I ended up getting both games for just about $10 more than the price of one. And, I don't usually buy digital because of what we just talked about earlier with the eShops closing for the 3DS and the Wii U. But I figure at that price, why not? But I came across a physical copy for, I think it was like $40, something like that. And, I figure, Pokemon game dropping to $40, that seems like once a year, usually around Black Friday type pricing. So I went ahead and I pulled the trigger on it. I debated it for a day or so, and I'm like, FOMO's a MOFO. There's the show name for you. And I went ahead and pulled the trigger on it. And, when I got back and opened it up, I noticed that the case on it felt a little bit different. It felt familiar, but it felt different as well. And I looked, I checked it out. I compared it to some of my other Switch cases. I actually flipped over like all of the Switch games that I had so I could compare the side spines on it. And it was a little bit different. And the way it was different was there was like kind of like a curvature to the groove that you stick your fingers in, and it was like a little bit longer than on the standard US Switch case. And as opposed to being like smooth, it's like if you ran your finger down the side that you open up, it's like there were two grooves there was like one large groove in there. And, you could feel like the edges of it even more so. And, I'm like thinking this is kind of weird for like an ESRB game, and it was an ESRB rated game to have such a different case, because it's like nothing else is like this. And then I figured it out, and I noticed on the back of the case, in addition to the ESRB logos being on there, it said Middle East and Southeast Asia version. And I didn't get this at like a Walmart. I got it at like a like a closeout store where they have like returns or whatever. And I was thinking, oh, okay. I don't know quite how they would have gotten that over here, but apparently it was an international version. And the way I figured out that it was an international version was I have Dead or Alive Extreme 3 Scarlet on the Switch, and that is the Asia version of it. I think the Asian one is the one that has the English subtitles in it. And it's actually a really good game, to tell you the truth. I mean, yes, it's Dead or Alive beach volleyball, but I mean, it is actually really good. And that had the same style of case, that different type of plastic clamshell to it. And, once I figured that out and I looked at the game, it's like, yeah, it's fine. And, I put it in, loads up. I got my coins from it and everything. And basically, one thing I learned from it is that I guess it's going to be okay as far as using the US DLC with it, in spite of the fact that it says, Middle East and Southeast Asia version. Because on the cartridge, it's like there's like a dash at the end. It's like, the product number for the game, -USA or -JPN, I think it is for Japanese. And so I guess it's basically an English region version of the game that was released just for the Middle East and Southeast Asia. And I didn't even know that was a thing. I've basically found out by complete accident, and now if I ever decide to buy anything on eBay, I have something else I need to look into, just to make sure I'm getting the version that I think I'm ordering. But, I mean, it's neat to have. There's nothing wrong with it. Everything works with it. It looks great and everything. I was just worried. It's like, it's not a bootleg, is it? I don't think it's a bootleg. It looks like it's too well done. Everything's working, but it's just one of those things where it's like you never expect to happen on that at a thrift store in the U.S., but, it happens, or a closeout store or whatever. But, that actually was the last of my pickups and impressions for this week. And I'm thinking that will just about do it for episode 6 of FOMO's a MOFO. I want to thank you all for listening, especially if you tuned in live, because, these are a little bit tricky to kind of coordinate because, like I said, I'm a caretaker. It's hard to get a quiet moment in this house. But regardless as to how you're listening, thank you for listening. And be sure to subscribe to the show on your podcasting platform of choice, because it's now available on Apple Podcasts, as well as Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, and GeoSavan. I still don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, so if I'm not, forgive me. And if you're so inclined, please drop us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, because that will help out with the visibility of the show. That stuff is really important as far as getting the show's momentum going. Be sure to follow the podcast on Twitter at FOMO's a MOFO, or you can follow my personal account BlueSwim and get subjected to wrestling clips and cute cats playing with string or something like that. Whatever I end up retweeting. Well, this has been BlueSwim. Have a great week, everybody, and happy collecting. Take care.